Hi everyone and welcome back. In this video we would learn how to observe number patterns. And suppose you are given this pattern, okay, and you would be asked that what would be the next two patterns. These are some of the patterns given and you would be asked, okay, what's next two patterns that you would observe. So if you would notice that in this example, in this first one, you would notice that once you are adding 9 to 117 and then you are subtracting 9 to 117. Okay. In the next one, you are adding 99 to 117 and then you are subtracting 99 from 117. Okay. In the first one, you could clearly see that you are representing 9 by 10 minus 1, right? Here also it's 9 and then 10 minus 1. Here it is 99 and you are representing 99 by 100 minus 1. Here also it's 99 and it's 100 minus 1. And now if you are asked to write two next patterns, so that would be, so first one would be 117 plus, so here it was 1 times 9, then it was 299, therefore next would be 9, 9 and 9, right? And 117 plus, so we could write like here it was 10 minus 1, then it is 100 minus 1, of course it would be 1000 minus 1. Why? Because we can write 999 as 1000 minus 1. And what pattern you could say is that this is 10 minus 1, this is 100 minus 1. So that means that here it was 10, here it is 100. And what is 100? 100 is 10 times 10, right? Here you have 1000, right? How come? So to get 100 you will multiply 10 here, and to get 1000 you will multiply 10 here, and to get 1000 you would multiply 10 to the previous one, and therefore you will get 1000, right? So I mean these were the two ways to explain that how you got 1000 minus 1. So the pattern says that go on multiplying 10 times every time, okay? Every time go on multiplying 10 to the previous one. And the other way would be that, okay, we could represent 999 as 1000 minus 1. So first it was addition, now you could do subtraction. So 117 minus 999, and this could be written as 117 minus 1000 minus 1, right? So this is the next one. What would be the next pattern? So the next pattern would be 117 plus, so here it was 19, here it is 29, here we have 3 nines, so therefore here we would have 9, 9, 9 and 9, that is 4 times, okay? It could be written as 117 plus, so here you got 1000, and if you multiply 10 to the previous one, you would get what you would get? You would get 10,000, and therefore here you would write it, so 10,000 minus 1. So the next would be 117 minus 9999, because once we are adding then subtracting, adding, subtracting, adding, subtracting, so adding and subtracting will be, sorry, it would be 117 and minus 3040 and minus 1. Next, so these are the two patterns. Okay, now let's look at another example, and here it is 84 multiplied by 9, and this would be equal to, that is, we can write it as 84. Again, you are writing 9 as 10 minus 1. Here you have 84 multiplied by 99. This could be written as 84 multiplied by, you can write 99 as 100 minus 1. Okay, here you have 84, so 1 times 9, then 1 9, then 2 9, then 3 9, okay, and then 84, and you can write 999 as 1000 minus 1. So what pattern you are seeing is, once you will be having 1 9, then 2 9s, then 3 9s, right? Let me write in front of them. So here you had 1 9, here you have 2 9s, here you have 3 9s. So the next time you would get 4 9s. Okay, here you had 10 minus 1, here here it was 10, here you have 100, here you have 1000. So 1 0, 2 0, 3 0, therefore next would be 4 0, right? And this is nothing else but like keep on multiplying 10 to the previous one, that is to get 100, multiply 10 to this one, this 10, and you will get 100. To get 1000, you multiply 10 to this one, you will get 1000. To get sorry, here you will have 4 zeros, therefore 10,000. To get 10,000, multiply 10 by 1000, you will get 10,000. So this number would be 84 multiplied by 9, 9, 9 and 9 is equal to 84 multiplied by how much? How many zeros? 4 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and minus 1. What would be the next one? So 1 9, 2 9, 3 9, 4 9, and here it would be 5 9s. 1 0, 2 0, 3 0, 4 0, and therefore 5 zeros. 1 2 3 4 5. And what could be the other way to get this? That is multiply 10 to the previous one, and you will get this 1 lakh. Therefore it would be 84 multiplied by 19293949 and 84 multiplied by 1020304050 and minus 1 and minus 1. So these are the two patterns that you would get by observing the previous patterns. Okay, you were given some previous patterns. On the basis of that, you wrote these two patterns. Let's take another example, and here you have 96 multiplied by 5. We can write 5 as 10 divided by 2. So if you divide 10 by 2, you would get 5, and therefore this is 10 by 2. And we could write it as 960 divided by 2. Next time you could see that it's 96 multiplied by 25, and you can write 25 as 100 divided by 4, and therefore it got, you would get 9604. Then you have 96 multiplied by 125, and you can write 125 as 10,000 divided by 8, and therefore this number would become 96,008. So what's the trend here? The trend is, here it was, so like these are common, right? Here you could see that these are common. What is the trend? So the trend is, once you had 5 here, so this is 5, this is 25, and 25 is 5 multiplied by 5, that is 2 times 5. Then this is 125. That means it is 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. That is, here it was only 1 times 5. Here it is 5 times 5. And then you will again multiply a 5 to the previous one, right? So the next one would be 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. So 4 5s. What would be the next one? Next one would be 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. So 1 2 3 4 and one more 5. Okay, what is the next next pattern you could observe in these three? So the next one would be, here you have 10 divided by 2. So here 10 divided by 2. Here you have 100 divided by 4. And what does that mean? That means that if I multiply 10 divided by 2, so if I multiply 10 divided by 2 to this number, I'll get 100 divided by 4. This is going in a rough, right? This is, in a rough portion you could do this. That if I multiply 10 by 2 to this one, I'm getting 100 by 4. Now come here. You have 1000 divided by 8. What's the pattern? The pattern is that if I multiply 10 by 2 to this number, I'll get this 1000 by 8. I'll get this 1000 by 8. Right? So what would be the next one? So next one would be like, hey, we have to multiply 10 by 2 the previous one, and because of that multiplying 10 by 2, what we are observing is, here we had 10 by 2, that here we have only 1 0, here we have 2 zeros, here we have 3 zeros. So the next one would be, hey, it would be 4 zeros, 1 2 3 4 and 8. And how you would get this? It's simple, like multiply 10 by 2. There's some, okay, sorry, this would be one correction. This would be 16, right? This would be 16. So what you did, that you would multiply 10 by 2 to this one, and therefore you would get 10,016. 10 will get multiplied to 1000, and 2 would get multiplied to 8, and therefore you would get 10,016. What would be the next one? So the next one would be, if I multiply 10 by 2 to this number, okay, because what we are doing, we are multiplying 10 by 2 to the previous one. So here also we would multiply 10 by 2, and we would get, what we would get? We would get 1 0, here it is 1 2 3 4, and therefore 5 zeros. So 2 3 4 5, and this would be, and 2 multiplied to 16, it would be 32. Okay, so this is the pattern. So we can write as 96 multiplied by, that is 3 times, sorry, here 4 times, right? 5 multiplied by 5 would be 25. 25 multiplied to 5 would be 125, and 125 multiplied to 5 would be 625. So this would be 625 is equal to 96, and then you will have 4 zeros, that is 10,016, and therefore you could write it as 96 and 1 2 3 4 zeros and 16. What would be the next one? Next one would be 96 multiplied by, so here it is 5 multiplied, 5 times 5 is 25, 25 times 5 is 125, 125 5 times 5 is 625, and 625 times 5 would be 3125. And you could write it as 96 multiplied by how many zeros? 5 zeros. So 1 2 3 4 and 5 zeros divided by 32, this would be 32, and this number would be 96. How many zeros? 1 2 3 4 5. So 1 2 3 4 5 and 32. So these are the two patterns that you got from these three, or by observation of these three previous patterns. Let's take last example. here you have 64 multiplied by 5. So again, you could clearly see that it is 10 divided by 2, because you can write 5 as 10 divided by 2. And here you got 32, because if you divide 64 by 2, you would get 32. And now you can, of course, you could write it as this one. You could write it as 32, and I can write 10 as 10 multiplied by 1, and this is 32 multiplied by 10 by 1, and therefore you would get what? You would get 320. And which property I have used here? Which property I have used here? This is associativity property, right? We can group together in the multiplication and the addition of whole numbers, if you remember, right? Therefore, what is the pattern in the next one? So here we had 64, so what are common? 64, 64, 64, 64 is common. And here also 64, 64, 64, 64 is common. 32 is common. 32 is common. And then what is common? 320 is common. And we saw how are we getting 320 and how we are getting 32, right? Let's see for the what's the pattern then. So you could see that here this 5, I'm deleting this one, I'm deleting it, just removing it because of the space issue. Okay, so here we have 5, here we have 15. Can we write 5 as 15 as 5 multiplied by 3? So what actually we did, that we multiplied 5 by 3 and we got 15, and we got 15, right? So 5 and then 15. Now we have 25. So if I multiply this 5 by multiply this 5 by 5, what I would get? I would get 25. Clear? Very nice. So this is 25. Now you would say that, hey, here I have 35. What if I multiply this 5 by 7? I multiplied by 7. You could see, right? If you multiplied by 3, you got 15. If you multiplied by 5 to this 5, you got 25. If I multiply 5 by 7, what I would get? I would get 35. Very nice. So this is 35. So now can you tell me, just pause and think that what would be the next two pattern? Okay, so next two pattern would be, so this is like, hey, this is once I'm multiplied by 3, then 5, then 7. Okay, it's reminding me of something. Hey, it's actually prime numbers. Sorry, it's actually odd numbers. We are proceeding by multiplying by odd numbers. We are multiplying odd numbers to 5, right? Once we multiplied by 3, then the next odd number is 5, and the next odd number is 7. What would be the next odd number? Hey, the next odd number would be 9, right? So if I multiply 9 to 5, what I would get? I would get 45. Very nice. I would get 45. Now I have to write one more pattern. So what would be the next odd number? Hey, if I multiply next number by 11, if I multiply 5 with 11, and because 11 is the next odd number after 9, I would get 55. I would get 55. There is another way to look at. So this was 5 and this is 15. This is 25. This is 35. Hey, 5 plus 10 is 15. 15 plus 10 is 25. 25 plus 10 is 35. So next would be 45. And the next one would be 55. So what we did, we added 10 to the previous one. This was the second way to observe the pattern. And what was the first way to observe the pattern? Like this one, what I told you here. Okay, So now let's look for some other patterns if available. So the next available patterns are, so we are done with what we are done with. We are done with this one, and we are then it's a time for 10 by 2, 30 by 2, 50 by 2, 70 by 2. So this is 10 by 2, this is 10 by 2. So hey, 5 multiplied by 3 was 15, therefore 10 by 2 multiplied by 3 would be 30 by 2, right? Okay, 5 multiplied by 5 was 25, 5 multiplied by 5 was 25, and if I multiply 5 to 10 by 2, I would get 50 by 2. 5 multiplied by 7 was 35, and if I multiply 7 to 10 by 2, I would get 70 by 2. 5 multiplied by 9 was 45, and if I multiply 9 to 10 by 2, I would get 90 by 2. 5 multiplied by 11, I got 55, and if I multiply 11 to this one, this would be 110 by 2, right? What was the another way to look at this pattern? The pattern would be, hey, this was 10 by 2, this is 30 by 2, this is 50 by 2. So it is like adding 20 to the numerator, right? You go on adding 20 to the numerator. So 10 plus 20 would be 30, because denominator is same, numerator is getting different, and it is the difference of 20 in the next one. So it is like add 20 to 10 to the previous one, you would get the next one. So 20 plus 10 is 30, 30 plus 20 is 50, 50 plus 20 is 70, 70 plus 20 is 90, and 90 plus 20 is 110, right? So here we go, we got our every pattern. So next two patterns would be 64 multiplied by 45. This would be equal to 64 multiplied by 90 by 2. This would be, divide 64 by 2, you would get 32, and multiplied by 90, right? And of course I can write 32 multiplied by 90 as 32 multiplied to 10 times 9, right? And by the property of associativity, I can write 32 multiplied by 10 grouped together, and then 9. Therefore this would be 320 multiplied by 9. So this would be 320 multiplied by 9. So next one would be 64 multiplied to 55. Therefore it would be 64 multiplied by 110 by 2. This would be 32, because we would divide 64 by 2, 32, and then 110. And what would be the pattern? So 320 is common in every one, so 320 is common, and then multiplied by. So another way to look this one would be like, hey, it was 1, then we got 3, then 5, then 7, then 9. So again it's like odd number, you are multiplying by the next odd number. So here it would be multiplied by 11. Another way to look at would be like, it could be written as 32 multiplied by 110. This would be 32, and this could be written as 11, sorry, this could be written as 10 multiplied by 11, and by the property of associativity, it's 32 multiplied by 10 and times 11, and this would be 320 multiplied by 11, and therefore you got this. So these are the two next patterns. So you could clearly see that, hey, there are different ways or more than one pattern that you could observe in the given examples or the given questions. So the question that you would be asked would be in a similar way that, hey, these are some of the patterns given to you. Now, can you guess the next two patterns? And I hope that the concept would be clear to you, and it requires a little bit of practice. And by practice, you would understand, hey, how to observe the pattern.